of Swami Shivananda Vani. Hope you're enjoying the episodes. Now let's see what Mahapurushji is going to discuss today. So the first part is Master slept very little. Mahapurushji's exalted moods. He vividly sees God in all. I act just as the Master wants me to. Now the place is Belur Math. Time is 1932. Nowadays, Mahapurushji is in a state of unspeakable elevated divine mood. The mood is so intense at times that he spends the whole night without sleep, merged in his spiritual depth. He has no thought of the body. If anyone talks about that, he smiles sweetly like a child and says, "Well, whom can anyone kill when Krishna protects him?" This body will somehow continue so long as the Master wants to preserve it, only for his work. If anyone argues that prolonged sleeplessness would tell upon his health, he would reply, "What need for sleep has a yogi?" When the mind is in samadhi, there is no need for sleep. Besides, meditation has such efficacy of its own as to eliminate the need of sleep. When a particular state of it is reached, it removes all fatigue of the body. The body seems to be more fresh and vigorous in that state of samadhi than even after a deep sleep. And an inexpressible joy fills the body and the mind. As for myself, whenever I feel physically tired, I raise up my mind from the physical state to merge it in samadhi. And then there is bliss alone. We have seen how often enough the Master never used to sleep. Now and then he might snatch an hour's or a half an hour of sleep at the most. Most of the time he would be absorbed in samadhi, and the remaining time he would spend in spiritual moods. These moods became very pronounced at night. He would spend the whole night repeating the name of the Master, of the Mother, and of Hari. Whenever he stayed with the Master, we saw at Dakshineshwar, we were always filled with awe of the Master. He had no sleep at all, and whenever he awoke from sleep, we heard him talking with Mother in a state of divine inebriation, or we saw him pacing up and down the room, muttering something inaudible all the while. Sometimes he would wake us up in the middle of the night itself. "My boys, my dear boys," he would say, "have you come here to sleep? If you spend the whole night in sleep, when will you call on God?" As soon as we heard his voice, we would sit up in a great hurry and start meditating. For some days, Mahapurushji was in a specially exalted mood. He would salute one and all with folded hands, with great respect, whenever they came in to pay their respects to him. It did not matter whether the visitor was an old monk or a monastic or a novice, a grown-up disciple or a little boy or a girl. As soon as the visitor came in view, he would be the first to raise his folded hands and touch his forehead with them as a token of respectful greetings. And then only would he inquire about their well-being. That nonplussed and overwhelmed one and all. Besides, he would not allow anyone to depart without taking something to eat. He felt uneasy until the visitor had something to eat. Especially the little boys and girls had to be fed properly with sweets and fruits. One night, it was about 2 o'clock. Nature was absolutely calm and quiet. A green light faintly glowed in Mahapurushji's room, and he sat on his bed with his legs folded in. Two attendants at a time used to keep vigil in his room for the whole night by turns and attend to his needs. 2 o'clock was the time for change of duties. As one of the attendants for the new turn approached him, Mahapurushji asked in a solemn tone, "Who's that?" As soon as the attendant responded, Mahapurushji saluted him with folded hands. The attendant was an initiated disciple of his, so he was greatly hurt in being greeted thus by his own guru. With tears in his eyes and full of emotion, the disciple said with folded hands, "Sir, why did you salute me? I am only a servant of yours, and I have taken refuge at your feet. This does not go well for me." This aggrieved complaint of the attendant moved Mahapurushji very much, and he said in a slow, deep voice, "Don't be sorry, my son. I assure you that this will do you no harm. Believe me when I say this. I can well realize that you are much upset, but how can I help it? For I see Narayan himself in you. Do you think that I saluted you? I saluted God himself, whom I see clearly in you. You may think that I salute you, but the fact is otherwise. How can I explain to you the various ways the Master is blessing me and the diverse visions he is granting me?" With this, he became absolutely silent. On another occasion, when asked by an attendant about the reason for his saluting one and all, Mahapurushji said, "As soon as people come in front of me, I get visions of different gods and goddesses, and so I salute those deities. When somebody approaches me first of all, I see that particular effulgent form of God through which he reveals himself in that particular personality. The person themselves appear indistinctive, like shadowy beings, while the divine aspect itself appears vivid and living. That's why I make my pranams. The divine forms disappear after my salutation, and then only can I see the human figure distinctly and recognize them as well. Sir, you salute each and all as a result of your divine vision. But how can we understand that? Protested the attendant. To us, it appears as a very odd affair. It is but natural that everyone should salute you first. Instead, you yourself salute them. That fills the monks and devotees with grief, and they being fancying many things. Let them fancy what they like, said Mahapurushji. Do you think that I do all this of my own accord? I myself often don't understand why I act like that. I am stuck with wonder. So, how can others understand? There's nothing else but the Master within this frame. I act just as He wants me to, and I speak just as it pleases Him. To whom can I explain, and who indeed can understand the various ways in which the Master is playing through this body? You all are, after all, too immature, mere boys. Had Maharaj or Hari Maharaj or Sharat Maharaj and others been here now, they would have understood all this, and I too would have derived some solace by opening out my heart to them. In any case, it will be just as the Master wills. He can play with his pet animal as he pleases. As my days advance, I now find that the mind becomes more active in proportion as other activities lesson. He alone knows for how many days more this body will pull on like this. For us also, as the body slows down, the mind becomes active. So let our mind be active with the thoughts of God. Let us pray to Sri Ramakrishna that we may be able to keep all the thoughts of God with us. With that, we end today's episode. Hope you enjoyed today's reading. Do stay tuned to Devakshar, like and share our videos, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for being with us. Namaskar.